Girl, I waste my time and spend it on my wishes. Just wishing.
Hello and welcome back to the channel, Kelly Legends Media. Okay, today I'm gonna do a little spill on the Maraviosos. Okay, on that organization, the Maraviosos. Now, Renee Boxer Enriquez recently did a video on the Maraviosos, and well, actually, it was his second discussion he had on the Maraviosos. The first one I thought was garbage. This one, I think he was pretty much on point, except a couple of comments that he made. But that's neither here nor there. We're not going to get into that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get into what I know and understand and grew up with, being raised among the Maraviosos, being and indoctrinated into what they thought and believed, and we'll go from there. Okay. Now look, there was two factions of Mexican organizations in the Southern California penal system. Okay, that basically didn't get along with one another. Okay. Now, the one that was created first pretty much had control of the prison and the prisoners, and pretty much did what they wanted, when they wanted, how they wanted it. Took what they want, you know. They might ask for it, but if you didn't give it to them, you know, and they wanted it bad enough, they'll send somebody to pick it up, you know. And you know, some people were made to do things. I'll give an example. You know, you're 2 days away from going home, right? 2 days away from going home after serving 10 years, okay? And somebody's put in an area that nobody can get to but you. So what happens? You're asked to do a favor, since you're the only one that can get to this person, and to handle that. The only thing is that handling that is gonna give you a case. You're not going home in 2 days, and pretty much you'll be giving up your life to this cause, right? Things like that people just found hard to swallow, hard to deal with. So the guys made up the opposing organization, okay, to make a pretty much anybody who wants to resist the first organization and do their own thing can join up with them. Now, Renee mentioned that in the beginning of the first and most largest organization in prison, that there were several members from Maravilla from the inception of the organization. Okay. Now, it's true, but as he mentioned them, you can see they were all from Eloyo. I knew a few of these guys, many of them, and they were all from Eloyo, except for a handful were from Fort Maravilla. Okay. And all the other Maravillas knew this. So when everything that was going on in prison was over for certain guys in there, they came home and explained what they were going through. They sometimes get busted again, kind of like a revolving door. Well, the guys from the Maraviosos organized in prison and said, you know what? We're not going to mess with either group. We're just going to stay neutral. We're going to do our own thing, as to not be taken advantage of or live under any heavy hand, you know. I heard stories that store was taken from people, snatched out of their hand. Hey, this is for a certain person, and they'd walk off with the store that your family took money out of their household to send to you, so you'll have some extra food. Okay. uh I could understand about any contraband or anything illegal that was being done in there. Then, being that these are criminal organizations, and there has to be laws that govern the criminal uh, economy. Okay. But this is something that comes from your family, that for you to have extra stuff to eat. Okay. Stuff like that. Okay. Uh, you'll be 2 days from the house after doing 10 years. They put somebody next to you that you can get to, and you might be asked to do a favor to get to that person, take care of them, right? You're going to lose your date, pick up another case, get another charge, maybe never get out. Okay. And you were asked if you wanted to make that sacrifice, but there was only one answer you could come back with that would be acceptable. Okay. So I heard a lot of these stories. Okay. Now, the Maraviosos was a prison gang. Okay. It wasn't encompassing all the guys from Maravilla, because there was Maravillas, certain individuals from different Maravillas that were Sureños. Okay. The majority, though, pretty much fell into not wanting to be treated that way, not wanting to have nothing to do with neither one of these other organizations. Just wanted to go in and do their thing and handle their business. Uh, there was one thing I was taught early on before I even went to jail or prison, but that whenever I was approached to claim Maravilla, but also raise my hand right then and there to help keep the yard clean, any chomos, any ratas with paperwork, any garbage on the yard, that I will be willing, and put me in, coach. I'll help keep the house clean. We ever get off with any other race, I'll be on the front line. I just don't want to be involved with no dope debts, none of that internal politics, none of that stuff. You know what I mean? And it was respected by them, by the organizations. May not have been appreciated 100%, but I was never mistreated or let's call it, I was never punked or got my stuff taken. I was treated with respect by these guys. So I never seen the stuff that everybody had been talking about. And I've heard a lot of stories, and I'm not saying they're not true. I believe them, because there's different type of people. Some people are tyrants. Some people are gangsters. Some people are a gangster's gangster, like like it's been mentioned. Okay. And there's ways to treat another man if you want respect. In any case, the Maraviosos made this organization in prison, which lasted for many, many years. Okay. But it also included guys from other neighborhoods, guys from 38th Street, different barrios, Chinos, Indians, Chicanos. It wasn't just guys from Maravilla. Okay. it was just guys that liked the way the guys from the Maraviosos carried themselves and liked their get down. Okay. So eventually I started hearing things like if you had a Maravilloso tattoo, you had to wear a T-shirt on the yard. You couldn't come out, with Maravilla plastered on your stomach or your back, or you know what I mean. I remember before they used to have a puro MV right here, on their arms, and later more people started getting the whole thing blasted on their bodies, right? But even as far as 2005, because I was on the yard with a guy from the Maraviosos from Arizona, right? Older homie. And he was asked to not come out to the yard without a T-shirt. And his answer was basically to the person that was asking him that, if you have a problem with me coming out without a T-shirt, come and put one on me, or do what you got to do, but you do it, right? He stood there the whole time and never, dude never bothered nobody. He was doing his own program. He was involved with no nonsense, worked out, and when the bell rang, when the riot kicked off, he was he handled his business. But another one was my homeboy Toker and Checo. They were in Chino, in Palm Hall. And they got a Checo and told him, hey, man, tell your little homie he's got to wear a T-shirt. He can't come out like that. Well, the homie kept coming out like that. And they told Checo, man, your homeboy's too much, man. He's got some balls. I got to give him that. But they knew that my homeboy was a down little monkey, man. And he was going to, anything, popped off, he was going to be there side by side with Checo, back to back. And they were going to do some damage, It's a big boy. And he was, he was who he was. Okay, both of them rest in peace. But I guess what I'm trying to say, it wasn't that serious, Now, when after the green light, things got more serious, especially if they were popping off at the mouth and disrespecting. Those guys got removed up right away, man. They got moved on, And one of the things that was happening that was really disturbing to me, man, was my homeboy, Mad Dog, rest in peace. He had a bunch of these youngsters from the neighborhood. Some of them had never been to the joint. They were all solid youngsters. They were all with the business. They were, involved with all the functions and everything, man. They were with it. And what he did was he recruited these kids into the Maraviosos. He did tattoos, and he'd blast Maravioso on them and kept doing it while he was out here. Now, like I said, these guys had never been to the joint, and the Maraviosos was a prison organization, and I don't know. My thinking was different. I would figure you'd let them go to prison and see how things are and let them decide, instead of them not knowing anything except what you had to say about it and about, how it is. And then just getting them like that. And what he told me, he was like, hey, homie, fuck that, man. We just line them up, blast them up, and send them in. Boom, boom, like soldiers, Yeah, my homeboy está muy loco, man. Rest in peace también, Anyways, there was a lot of good Maraviosos that were hit out here in the street. Rest in peace to the homeboy Buckwheat and homeboy Blackbird. you know. They both did a little more than just the fact that they were Maraviosos. So, you know, they were getting into it a lot, you know. And you know, things went all the way back for them. In any case, like I said, even up into 2005, I didn't see it that serious. Now, when they opened up Pelican Bay, you know, with the guys that were in Pelican Bay, the real ones, it was on site. It was already established on site. So I don't know. I got out in 2005, so I don't know how it went. But from what I heard is that it went bad, you know. But just to make it clear, someone like me who claims to be a Maravioso, because I'm from Maravilla, I'm a marvelous one, and being a Maravioso member from an organization with that name is two different things. Okay. I know a lot of youngsters are going to disagree. A lot of guys from Maravilla might disagree. But from my understanding, from what I see, that's the way it is. And you don't have to be a Maravioso in that organization, even if it still exists in prison, to not be into politics, to not be into all of that. You know what I'm saying? You know, you could be from Maravilla. You don't want to be in none of that, and you just want to do your time. And, you know, you got a family, you got this, that, and the other. You know, you have plans to get out and do your thing. And you're not in there using dope and getting in debt and doing all kinds of dumb mamadas. You know, you'll survive. You know, but one slip up, and you know, like for anybody else, you know, you're gonna pay the consequence. You know. And there's going to be more eyes on you, just because you're from Maravilla, man. You know, people just wait for you to trip on something that you say or do. You know, so anyways, I don't know. I think that covers pretty much what I had to say about the Maraviosos. Oh, one last thing. Now, during the time when there was still a good amount of Maraviosos from the organization on the yards, they started doing something that I think was their undoing, okay, in a big way. You know, besides the fact that they had these issues with other organizations, is also, you know, a huge factor. But I think this is what really ruined on people getting involved, from like guys from other neighborhoods or whatever. Look at, I heard a few situations where some Maraviosos got taken in, you know, they brought something in, you know, some black or whatever it was. Let's say some black, right? And the older homies who considered themselves lieutenants and higher ranking Maraviosos told the younger Maravioso, hey, well, you got to break off a third of that. You know that, right? And the homie who I mentioned already during this video, who was a Maravioso, he actually, from the Maraviosos in prison, he took the tattoo off. He was actually a Maravioso from the organization, from the prison organization. Told him, hey, you're doing the same thing that we're trying to get away from. You know, if you vatos are going to start doing that, I'd rather go to the other side, man, because them vatos got everything. They got the power, they got the money, they got everything. Why am I going to be messing around over here struggling and fighting this battle if my own people are going to treat me the same way? You know? Well, we'll talk about that after you shoot me the third. You know what I'm saying? And it was things like that that made people take a step back and say, wait a minute, man, this is turning into something else. Like, nah, fuck that, and I heard a couple of situations like that. But you know what, I gotta admit though, all the time that I've been busted, and I've been busted with guys from the very first organization. A lot of them have passed away already. They'd be older, like maybe in their 70s now. Um, this was way before Boxer Enriquez came along. He admitted himself he didn't know these guys. But I've never been mistreated or disrespected verbally, or wait a minute, that's not true. I was disrespected one time up in the projects by this dude, and he was trying to take my bike, and I took the bike back from him, and he told me, "You know who I am?" And I did know who he was, And I told him, "Yeah." I go, "Hey, homie, but it has nothing to do with it. This is my bike, And he goes, "I'm just letting you know, homie." All right. So you tell me you know who I am, and you're just gonna rip the bike out of my hand like that? I go, "Look, you're stealing my bike, homie. All I did was get my bike back. I apologize if you feel disrespected on me, but this is mine, And I threw it in the truck, and he just stood there looking at me, and I drove away. And maybe a week later, they killed his brother in the projects. And the way they came down there in force, investigating that unaliving, kind of made me realize, that this guy, he did have some juice, and I didn't mean to disrespect him or anything, but that was my bike, and I could not let him just take my bike. No, that's my bike, Anyways, another time, Huito, he was a dropout already, so I really didn't care, But like I said, he was a guy just like me, right? Disrespected my wife. He was getting at her while I was in this liquor store. And when I came out, I told him, "Hey, homie, get away from the car. That's my old lady." And he goes, "Ah?" I said, "Then get away from the car. Don't be bothering her." And he goes, "You know who I am?" I go, "Yeah, I know who you are." I go, that has nothing to do with my wife and me and you. I'm just telling you, get away from there. I said, "Get away from the fucking car." He goes, "And if I don't, I told him, I don't know. We'll see right now. We'll see how all this transpires. It's all up to you, He goes, "Well, let's just see how it transpires." And he steps out and away from the car. And we thought he was no one to play with. He'll take your life. He was a dangerous vato. But there's a lot of dangerous people, out in the street and stuff. And that day he got the short end of the stick, and only because he was a dropout. Otherwise, of course, I would not have raised my hands to him like that over something so trivial like that. No, never in my life. But I did get him away from the car. Huito was something else. He was already not affiliated with anything still going around, demanding people to give him drugs. It's just a drug addict. All bad, And anyways, other than those two situations, never, ever, ever have I been disrespected or threatened or treated foully or nothing. I've never had no problems with any of them. They all talk respectful. Oh no, that's not true. With Charlie Brown, when we were playing Malias, and I called a 45, man, and he got pissed off, and he said that I was wrong, right? And when you call a 45, you have to flip over the card, where it took place, to show him. And I forgot what he was cutting. I think it was cutting diamonds. something happened. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. And he got a little bit hot, and he was walking up and down the. We were in Wayside in the east. He was walking up and down the hallway, right? But I didn't know who he was until after my homeboy, also rest in peace, told me. He goes, "Hey, fool, you know who that is?" And I go, "I don't care, homie. She was cheating, you know." He goes, "Nah, homie, but that vatos, one of them vatos, homie, you know. Watch how you talk to him." I go, I didn't say nothing wrong. I call it 45. We're playing cards, you know." You know, and yeah, Charlie Brown didn't like it, but uh, in the end, you know, nothing transpired or nothing, and you know, I'm glad for that. But nobody really, yeah, man, I don't know. You know, I know people have had some bad experiences, and that was the whole basis, I think, behind what the Maravillas didn't want to happen to them. You know what I mean? They wanted the same respect that every uh, young, proud Mexican wanted. You know, and some people act and think differently when they get power. You know, but my advice, man, is like if you don't want to deal with that, stay out of prison. Don't go there. You know, because you don't know who's going to be on the yard, and uh, you know, you might end up with some really good, solid people. You might end up with somebody who who's a bully. You know what I mean? Or you never know. You just don't know a person's personality. After being down so long, you get bitter, you get angry. You know, and if you're having a hard time, you do what you got to do to survive. You know, and by whatever means. So, you know, you want to live among the sharks and the you know, the big dogs. uh, you got to learn how to maneuver and learn how to do that without getting hurt somehow, you know. Or you guys get my drift. Anyways, just to make, I just, the main thing I wanted to clear up, that the Maraviosos was actually a prison gang. And like I said, had different members from different barrios, even had a few guys from different races, you know, and it was a prison thing, you know, that, yes, carried out into the street where the philosophy was spread. And even up until today, you know, that has became one of the things that Maravilla stands on is to stand strong and proud, you know what I mean? Um, I could get more into it, but I'm not going to, because that don't belong on YouTube. I just wanted to explain about the Maraviosos. I might have to do this video over. Uh, I don't know. I got to listen to it a few times and see what I think. Anyways, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. God bless you. God bless your families. People, stay free, man. Stay out of prison. Don't get caught up, because it's all fun and games till it ain't. You know, especially, you know, you younger vatos. And when I say younger vatos, man, come on, man, I'm in my 60s. So younger vatos could be a wider range of ages, you know, and a wide range of ages. And you know, people sometimes just don't know. You know, you find out the hard way, the way things really are. You know. Anyways, people, stay free, man. God bless you.